Your Costa Rica right now is winter as well, isn't it?
Well, you'd never know, but they sort of flip their seasons around.
Sure.
So
Okay.
the school break for the elementary and high school kids is December and January, and they go back in February, and then they go through school right through July and August. So what we call our summer, I guess they would call their winter. And I think if I'm not mistaken, it follows the rain season. So they don't want the youngsters out of school when it's raining all the time. So they give them a nice 2 months of sunny skies.
Mm, wow, amazing.
Talking of South America, specifically the Aztecs, have you guys or any of you guys been watching the series called Oak Island, which I'm finding very fascinating?
I heard of it, but I haven't. Tell us a little bit more what you've seen.
So, there's a few of these treasure hunting programs out there, Gold Hunts, Gold Coast, all that kind of thing. And this one in particular surrounds a kind of very vague history of treasure being on this island off Nova Scotia by the name of Oak Island. Now, the fascinating thing about it is not only the amount of time and effort that's gone into digging some very, very deep holes into the ground, trying to find so-called caverns that contain, well, gold was all that was known at the time they started. Possibly a kind of Spanish gold or something.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right. But the interesting thing is that as they're doing this series, that people are coming forward and saying, and then kind of connecting some dots. For example, there was a very fascinating guy, I can't remember his surname, Peter something or other from Norway, an organist, who had been doing some research on the works, or some of the works of Shakespeare. Basically, he went to the grave site of where Shakespeare is buried and noticed some oddities with regards to the script on the stone, almost like it was code. So he went, he was curious and followed this code, and suddenly he's on this massive journey of discovery and research with regards to codes hidden in Shakespeare.
No kidding. And this is on Oak Island, which is off the coast of Canada, correct?
Well, yes, but not yet from this guy's perspective.
All right.
So he's doing this research, and he's coming across obvious code that is seems to be Masonic in nature, contained within particularly some of the Shakespearean works, particularly the first folio. And, he's constantly coming across indications that it was written by Francis Bacon and that Shakespeare was a front man. So to cut a long story short, he carries on finding out this code, and then eventually there's an indication of some sort of treasure map. Right, encoded in the very same coding that revealed that the authorship of the Shakespearean works was Francis Bacon. So he follows this very long course of research to decode, a very clever chap, to decode and decipher where the treasure is, so to speak. And the X marks the spot point that he eventually and very logically arrives at is Oak Island, right?
Right.
Very fascinating. And then suddenly, so a few kind of episodes down the line, then you've got this guy who comes forward and says, well, apparently the Aztecs have buried gold there as well.
Wow, really? Is that true?
Yeah.
Amazing. That is. Hey, we got music on. We're coming on to break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you, guys.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Enjoy your extra big ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please
What?
come back when you can afford to
Oh,
make
no,
a purchase.
no.
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on. My
I'm
kids
sorry
are
you're having
starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning, how to do everything website, all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, that goes in eternity.
Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out.
Not me.
Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
This is Noreen Halpan, Wild at Heart Roundtable, and I have on the call Tim Kaiser, Heather Holman, Bruce McDonald, Wingman, and YouTube Colin. That's all I'm going to say.
YouTube Colin is Nitehawk.
Yeah, well, Hawk, but I'm just going by the icon. So how are you doing, Hawk?
Well, I'm doing. I just thought I thought I would sample one of our nightly roundtables into. Yeah, I'm up late. Anyway, into our live stream so people can see what's going on. 347-688-2902 if you want to call in. I have no idea who has the calls, but anyway.
I'm host. I'm producing, so I'm taking in the calls.
All right, so you got the calls, and people want to call in from the YouTube. I'm just trying to do a sample show right into, what we do at night over here. And so I thought I'd check in and see if you were doing Patriot stuff. So go at it.
Oh, we were just talking about Oak Island, actually. So, excuse me. But if anybody wants to bring up Patriot and anything like that, that's perfectly fine. It's an open roundtable. So feel free to, Hawk, if you have any updates or anything anytime.
Well, I've created a new website, OperationAmericanSpring.us. It's a 2.0 relaunch. Launching a new website sucks. Nobody will go look at it, and it really sucks to get anybody actually doing anything. But there are some stuff that I've been doing on the site. We have, the forum is active, so you can get in there and let us know where rallies are going on and all that kind of stuff. That's all I can say. Nobody's posting anything but me. I've launched, I don't know how many forums with Revolution Radio. None of them could I get anybody doing. The hard thing is to get anybody off their ass to actually do anything. My mantra is, it's all good to talk about doing Patriot stuff, but when it's time to do Patriot stuff, nobody's really interested. And it's really funny. I said this earlier. I was showing a whole bunch of prepper videos and off-grid videos and self-reliance videos earlier, and then I was and I've also been talking about people to go to do these live streams, and it's really funny. It's really funny. I think in America they have injected so much estrogen into the water that all the men's balls have shrunk down to nothing. Because the only people, hold on. The only people I see doing any of these videos are women. The only people I seem to be able to get to go out and live stream these events are women. And all the guys, they just, I'll talk to them. Oh, hell yeah, let's just go out and shoot the hell out of everybody, blah, 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 Group W, bitch, blah, 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 blah. But when I go, okay, all right, you're all about this. Let's get you out there. Let's get you a live stream. Oh, I ain't going there. So
we usually need to say the women are picking up the ball compared to the men.
Pun intended.
Huh?
You said the women are picking up the balls and heading out to do the work. Yeah, pun intended. Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying. The only people I can get to go do any of this work, even paid, are women. The only people I see doing prepper videos, canning videos, off-grid videos, they're 90% women. So what the hell just happened? Where is the estrogen coming from that has shrunk all these guys? They all got a big mouth. They all got some big mouth stuff to say, but they won't actually go do anything, and it's pissing me off.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm actually mad too. I'm very upset about what's going on with the gender. I think it's it's an agenda. I think it's a form of mind control vis-a-vis various methods, biologically, mentally. If you're talking about biologically, you're talking about estrogen in the water bottles, and also maybe the media. It's a combination of getting people to react very differently than what they naturally would. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, but they, you hear all these guys screaming and hollering about on the internet about how they're just going to go kick everybody's ass, but you see absolutely no action. Mm-hmm. No action, just a lot of talk, no action.
By the way, nice to hear you, Nighthawk. I've rarely spoken to you, and of course I appreciate everything you've done here. So hi there. I've been talking about this for a while. I have noticed consistently that the emasculation of man, if you like, and it does seem that something's happening.
It's terrible.
Where men, it's not a case of men getting in touch with their feminine side. It's a case of men becoming feminized and losing their masculinity and their courage, if you like. And so I've often found, Nighthawk, that when I've mentioned anything remotely associated with solutions, in other words, doing something, it suddenly goes silent. And I don't understand, because like you say, people talk about stuff, they talk about shit, and then suddenly, as soon as you mention anything that means getting off your ass, going out there and risking exposure or risking arrest, oh God forbid, then it's like death. It goes silent, and it annoys the FC UK out of me, But because nothing will change unless you actually get your hands dirty and get out there,
Well, yeah, exactly. I sent Sherry. Basically, Sherry went into the belly of the beast over there in Burns. She's a middle-aged woman. I don't know how she's 5 foot nothing. My age, 50-something. She had no problem going over there. But when we get into these more dangerous and active rallies that are going on, we need people that can freaking run if they have to. I mean, do you remember the Armory Park? Probably nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about, but in Arizona there was the Armory Park thing that went on, and rally that went on, and the press had to run to get out of the way of the pepper spray and all that stuff. I don't want to send people into those kind of situations if they can't run away. So, how the hell do you get young people in? How do you get people that can run away? And then again, why can't I get men? Not to say one gender is better than another, but it seems like it should be a little more evenly divided to me. And the only people volunteering to do any of this crap are women. So what the hell happened? When did the nuptials get so small? When did the nuptials get so small that we lost all the men? What the hell happened?
Tim, you want to say something about that?
Well, I did want to chime in when he had said, it seems like they were pumping estrogen in everybody. It is actually since 1516, I think it was, the German church, it was the Catholic church at that time, in Germany, decided that all beer had to be made with hops because hops produces estrogen. So if men drink it, they become sleepy and doesn't wild them up. So all the beer now, since 1516, really, essentially, like it started going out from there. And the Puritans also signed on to that as well, or the other sect of Christianity at the time, like it was Reformation time, they also signed on to it. And as that spiraled outwards, like that's why all the beer's made up with hops. Like it is not, hops beer is not good for men. It's literally not.
Is that why when we look at statues made all the way back, in the Middle Ages and the Reformation and the Renaissance, have you ever noticed these statues? They're like 92 feet tall, and their genitals are like 7 inches total.
Could very well be.
Well, I'm being facetious, but it's just it's kind of confusing me when I'm trying to put all this together, and I find nobody but women have any interest in doing any of this, and the only men that I have talked to, they talk a big game about, oh, well, yeah, we need to rush into D.C. and just end this. Just put this down. Just go shoot them all up. But, you're not going to get them out of their goddamn house.
Do you think that men are afraid of their own aggression when they actually get there? I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe with women, they're thinking that when they get there, they're not going to get, they'll get mad, but maybe they're not going to trip or freak. And maybe men are thinking, yeah, I want to do it, but if I really get there, I'm really going to go balls out and just, you think that's what's going on or no?
No, I think a lot of people like to talk, but, it's like all talk, no game. That's all I'm seeing. All talk, no game.
I think that the people who are actually ready to act are the people who are being quiet and they're paying attention and waiting for the right thing. And then there's the people who, like, you saw how the Bundy thing happened and how it's more than likely that, the main players involved, they're like the main guys who got the old militia together and all that kind of stuff, who took over the reserve and did the actual aggressive thing. There's
hold on, sir. Hold on, sir. It was never an aggression. There was never an aggression. I have had people on that ground since day one filming all this. There was never an aggression from anyone but the government. So if you could just adjust your statement a little bit, please.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is that the people who were questionable within the group of people who were trying to hold the refuge, the people on the top who were like captured and released right away, like really sketchy, almost like they were FBI informants. The people on the top. I'm not talking about the rest of them. So I think that some people get caught up, when they're being called up to do these things. I mean, what is it that we should be doing? Should we be violent? Because we obviously should not. Absolutely. I mean, violent revolution never get anybody anywhere. Then that's the French Revolution. That's not what we're looking for. I mean, what kind of solutions should we do?
Well, let me ask you a question. Now, not that, and of course, this is going to go out as if I'm like asking for violence, but let me ask you a very honest question. All right, during the Revolutionary War, or before it, when the United States decided to break away from England, did they do peaceful protests against King George? Were they really nice? Did they write a lot of letters to him? Did they get on Facebook and just jibber jabber about bullshit? What did they do? No, they shot them. They killed them with guns and took our country and established this country. Now, and for the Native Americans that are going to go, but anyway, just kind of regardless, we did the Native Americans badly in this country, but still, just point being point. There is a long history, there's a long history in this country in which we do all these big, protests and all that kind of stuff. Some of it worked in the 60s, some of it didn't. But quite honestly, I'm not calling for violence, but it just seems like the only time there's ever been any actual change is when the violence came. Just non-violence doesn't, in my opinion, actually ever fix anything. Just ask. And of course, I'm going to get some crap about this. Just ask the Jews in Europe. Just ask all the people in Europe during Nazi Germany. Just ask the normal citizens in Italy during Mussolini's reign. Just ask anybody in Russia, for 100 years, right up till when did it come down? 19 something or whatever, 80 something.
Oh, 1988 for the wall, the Berlin.
Yeah. Just ask those people. Just how much good you can do by marching and yelling really loud. You're just kind of a comedy show. And especially in alternative media, it's become a comedy show or a reality show for many of these people. I watch my own YouTube channel, which we're on right now. Unless I have a video up that is nail biting, possible death, everybody's going to die, nobody's tuned in. Everybody's looking for Jerry Springer. So, that's kind of my point there.
I won't argue with that at all. I think, I like to study things from a natural law perspective or from a understanding of what's going on every level, to try to have a holistic tapestry, if you will, to be able to access, to be able to understand, like, what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on in front of the scenes, Like, how does anybody make the most good? So when I started researching like the real history of the United States, I found that the British bankers funded both sides of the Revolutionary War, and that Washington was a turncoat. And I don't say this lightly. I'm not trying to say that, I don't know how else to put this. I mean, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that Washington was a turncoat. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that he was involved with Freemasonry and whatever. And then
the Freemasons, if you look at, if you go to DC and look at the paintings all over the Senate and all that, they turned him into God.
Oh yeah, well it's worse than that though. So if these people, like during our last Revolutionary War, if the British bankers funded both sides, just like they did at Waterloo, just like they did at countless other wars, and just like they did for the World War II.
Well, dude, it wasn't just. Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but it wasn't just the British bankers.
I'm not necessarily trying to say that any particular bankers. It was the people who are in charge of the whole system, right? But they're the ones who wanted the Americans to rebel in the first place. I don't know if you're familiar with the Americans or Wall Street, or like they used to be a separate clan. So there was the British who were moving into the United States, and they had admiralty laws already set up for the entire country as if the whole thing was a sea, so that they could steal what they wanted to. And this comes from the big, huge corporations at the time, which was the British West India Company and the British East India Company, who during that time period had a corporate merger and became the largest piracy and slave trading operation in the world. They were the largest slave trading operation in the world. So what they did was they went into a place and they took slaves, and then they could be white slaves or brown slaves or any color.
Excuse me, Tim. Area code 503 is. I think he's either not muted or whatever. But if you don't mind, Tim, just want to ask. Can you state your name, please? You just called in.
Hi, my name is Mike.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, you want to make a comment? Go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
At any rate, these people control so much behind the scenes. They're trying to control public opinion. They've been in charge of this thing since the beginning. They're the ones who caused World War II. They funded Hitler from this side. They funded Hitler from the other side. All the big corporations are in league here, all of them. Like if you pay attention to the history and to the laws, all these corporations, the United States of America in itself, in the 1871 Organic Act, they're all corporations, the entire states, all of them. So at the end of the Civil War, like there was no continental United States anymore. It all became incorporated, and that was just for show. The British interests, or say the British big banks and that whole network of secret societies, they've been actively pulling our strings to make all this stuff happen. So I'd like to try to understand that before I move forward and say that, violent action is going to be absolutely necessary right off the bat. I think more people need to wake up, because if you don't have the people in the streets who are going to back up any kind of rebellion, you're never going to be able to get anywhere to begin with, and you cannot do it from the of trying to set up a new constitution or a new government.
Well, yeah, I agree. I greatly agree with all that. I am not the person to call to violent action, and I never would be. Because I'm an old guy sitting in a house, and I can't go do any of that, and I would never ask for anyone to go lay down their life for any reason. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about reality, the reality of all this. And, quite honestly, to move forward, we've either got to, it's all good to be awake, but man, you got to get out of bed too. See what I'm trying to say?
I absolutely agree.
Can I just come in there before the caller, just to reply to Nighthawk? This predicament of violence and non-violence. Firstly, I hear a lot of people that say, "Oh no, we don't want any violence," coming from people that are cowards. I'll be honest, not entirely, but sometimes, right? Now, secondly, I think there is an appropriate use of not necessarily violence, but the use of force for the sake of defense. So if there is a people or a community that want to do the right thing, then I think it's right for them to try and defend themselves. Now, the problem is the violence is not often initiated by the people that want change for the better. It's initiated by the authorities. So they create circumstances, sometimes on purpose, to create the violence. So in those circumstances, one really does need to be prepared and clever in defending oneself. Do you see what I mean? And that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the violence is usually perpetrated by our own government here in the United States. And then right after they get done doing it, they make a law. Well, it's not a law. They don't make a law. They make an ordinance.
Oh, you guys, I'm on the new caller 503 area code. I'm sorry, can you state your name again in your comment?
Yeah, this is Mike.
Hi, Mike.
I live over here in Oregon, way next to the coast. And I've been listening to you guys for years, and I appreciate everything you do. But I want to add a couple things to what Hawk has, said and what all you're really talking about. Yeah, there's men here that listen. But there are so many aspects to this subject that people aren't talking about that get to the root of what is happening here, and nobody is getting on the same page. There's 100 chiefs per se, and not enough Indians. Everybody's wanting to be that chief, and something that I just seen recently was a video titled, I forget what the title is, but it's by a lady named Sophia Smallstorm, and she was pointing out how these staged events that, like 90% of them lately, that have the federal authorities coming in first instead of the local authorities, these are all contractual events that are happening because of federal mandated drills because of money or grants that are given to those local agencies. And this is proven by contract, according to her.
Well, just not only that, I need to really make sure everybody understands this. In Oregon, it is the only state in the entire United States, I think, now I might be wrong, but I think, that has no bond or bail system. It is 100% up to the judge. Which makes me have to question, why the hell would these guys pick Oregon to do this? But they were getting ready to move to...
Nobody understands law here.
Right.
That's the problem. If you were to remain private within our system of law and never step past that bar, remaining private is important because this is admiralty law on land that's being committed, and everybody talks about this, but I have performed things within these so-said courts that exonerate me because I just asked the right question, and they dismiss me because they don't want to answer my questions, many simple things. I don't have a license to drive because I understand that is only to permit somebody to commit commerce on the street, and we all have the legal right to travel with a vehicle, and it's just a matter of learning how to do it. And it's taken me years to learn how to do this, and the amount of information and years that I have personally obtained, so many people are not zeroed in directly, even though everybody's meaning to, because of the so-said law that incorporates our land that is held by Britain, by the bar, British aristocratic registry, People don't understand this, and this is why I try to avoid that system. I mean, we have two systems of government fighting for each other right now, and most people aren't even aware of that. We are so divided and conquered by division, by compartmentation. It is so hard to get anybody on the same page.
Well, yeah, I mean, even in your own state, people keep, we've looked at the Lloyd Bennigan videos and all that kind of stuff, and even within Oregon, there were more people at even the ambush then the entire state actually, in not just the video, but at the airport and in town, then the Oregon State Police even employ. So there had to be private contractors there. There had to be.
Oh, yeah. Governor Brown should have just done a governor or state job and, enacted like Article 32, which would have put in our National Guard to take care of this problem. But she didn't do her just job for the people, but she wasn't elected by the people. She was put in by our federals. And back to the court thing, when you're called to a court, I have done this personally. I've taken my birth certificate and my certificate of live birth into there. And when they called me by name to enter the courtroom, I just asked them a simple question. Are you trying to get me to participate in name fraud? I have prima facie evidence. That's the papers I hold. These papers I didn't make. They're public. They made them. I have prima facie evidence. That's what's being perpetuated before me. You want to see a judge swing a gavel and dismiss a case and close that record? Do it. You'd be amazed.
Wow.
This is about jurisdiction and accepting authority, and man today is so easy to accept authority over anybody instead of being his just person and being able to trust his own judgment and step forth. And that is a major problem that we have here in America, because none of this is being taught besides all the stupid chemicals that's feminizing our males in this country, which I totally agree with.
Oh yeah, that's one part of the equation. Go ahead.
I am very interested, very, very interested in what you have said about you actually practicing. I've been looking for years into it, and I haven't been able to figure heads or tails out of what can you say. It's been very hard for me to track down really good research on. I'm the only one I know that's come up with that line. Just like when an officer of the law pulls me over. What's the first thing I come out of my mouth is when they ask for my driver's and license and registration, I look at them, I smile nicely, and I ask them, can that be used against me in a court of law? You want to see an officer put his hand on the side of his waist and back off carefully and smile at you? Say that one. You understand the quagmire I created for him? Because he can't answer, Of course it can be used against me, and then I just take the fifth at that point. And then he don't get my papers to write his stupid UCC ticket, which is just a form of money in the first place. I have over 30-some driving while suspended violations in the state. Do I pay them? No, because they can't even come after me. And by all rights, I can discharge them. It's a stupid game of chess they play here. I've been playing it for 20 years, and it's frustrating that I can't get nobody just to talk man-to-man, like service days. You talk to somebody that's up your chain of command and things got taken care of. It don't work like that anymore, unfortunately. It's all about administrative rules. And, there's so many. Even within the law systems we have, there's so many compartmentations. You don't know what law supersedes what in what system, and that's why I just try to avoid that, because that's not my specialty. And in all reality, statutes and regulations are for the people who remain private to press upon the governmental officials who are running this so-said corporation. They're to protect us and push upon them.
But really, let's extend this into what it really is. We now have, in our own country, a whole bunch of political prisoners, one of them being press. Everybody is well aware, I don't like Pete Santilli. I don't like the way he does anything, but that doesn't matter. He went in there as press, and he got swooped up with everybody else, and now they're holding in the best place in the world they could hold them, in solitary confinement in Oregon, because they have absolutely no recourse to get out of there and the judge has already made up her mind. We have had somebody in there, in the courtroom each day reporting, and let me know what's going on. That judge has made up her mind. She's not letting anybody go, and they want to stretch this out to 2016. Or, 2017.
We have a new caller, 3-1 an area code. Would you like to say your name and your comment?
Yeah, it's Mark in LA. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey, hi, thank you.
I got a question for Hawk. Can you help me out, Hawk? How is Bundy in Nevada related to the Bundy in Oregon?
Do what?
The Bundys. The
Bundy. Yeah. Eamon and Ryan went up to help with the Hammonds in Oregon. When all this stuff slammed down, their father went to Oregon to try to assist, and he was arrested at the airport and held. And then the Nevada courts, they created a big charge over the 2014 Bundy Ranch standoff in order to keep him in jail. And once it gets done in Oregon, they're sending him back to Nevada to sit in jail until whenever they want to get around to it. So does that help?
Yeah, that's because there's so much. See, I thought it was Hammond, but they're interchanging it to where it sounds like the Bundy owned the property up in Nevada too. And so I was just pointing out that there's so much.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Watch my videos and stop watching the other idiots' videos.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. What's your new YouTube? What's the name of that? What's the name of it?
Yeah, it's Revolution Radio, but the actual handle is Weaponized Talk Radio. I have literally been on air every night for 8 hours. It's always funny. I get these guys that do 2 hours a week whining about how much work it takes to do 2 hours a week. And I've been on air every night, 8 to 10 hours every night for the last, 30 days, maybe more. So anyway, just go up there. Weaponized Talk Radio.
Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work, Hawk. Thank you. I'll sign off.
Hey, no problem.
Okay, I'll listen. Bye.
So that link was weaponizedtalkradio.com?
No.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And the handle is Weaponized Talk Radio. It's not weaponizedtalkradio.com. It's like youtube.com, Weaponized Talk Radio or something like that.
Got it. Okay.
And if you don't want to do that, just go to operationamericanspring.us, because when I'm live, that first page you go to shows me live.
Oh, okay.
And I had one other comment before I wanted to hang up. Or question, actually. How come we don't have Sean Morton advise a couple people on maybe potential legal tactics? Because he's part of where some of my information has come from.
Well, Sean's got some legal issues of his own right now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what happens when you poke out too loud.
Yeah, him and his wife got off the boat a couple of weeks ago. They got arrested. They're looking at like 600 years in prison or some stuff like that. I'm not even going to get into it. I've talked to Sean a little bit about it. So, how the hell he wrote his own bond out of there is an amazing event. But anyway, just ignore the trolls, look it up, but ignore the trolls. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'll let Sean tell you when Sean wants to tell you.
All right. Well, thank you for everything you're doing, and I'll call in more and comment, especially on this Oregon thing, since I live out here, and let you guys know, at least there's a few guys out here, that just like, don't know who the other gentleman is, spoke of, there is quite a few people sitting in limbo waiting, which is the best way to apply ourselves. And,
well, why don't you grab your
2 good shots?
Well,
and that's all we really have, because of I'm former military, and I still am hand-to-hand combat trainable for our NATO forces. My instructor trains them in
Can I ask
Canada.
you a question? Here, let me ask you a question.
The weapons they have available to mess with humanity, our guns ain't nothing. They've used these in combat already, tried them at least 3 times, and the people that are paying attention see this type of electronic warfare. The last major one was the Libya takeover. They used electronic warfare there that just made the
all right, well, here, hold on a minute. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Why don't you grab your smartphone and head up to Portland where all this is going on and live stream for me?
I don't have a smartphone. I have the very first phone that ever was able to hop on the computer, and they cut the bandwidth down.
Okay,
so all
well,
I can do is call and text.
All right, I bet. Do you have a video camera?
No, I'm old.
Do you know someone that does have a video camera?
I could probably think a little bit.
Well, there you go, and you could could buy a video camera.
I got a family, that stuff, and I'm a carpet layer, and some days I could, and some days I might not be able to. But I imagine if I put my head to it and think about it, talk to a few people, might be able to come with somebody in this area.
There you go.
Get somebody out of your area.
Get your ass up to Portland and help us document exactly what is going on. That's all I can say.
Hey, I want to welcome 702. I think this is a Zippy 405 from chat. How are you?
Yes, it is, Noreen. I'm just listening in the conversation, though. I just want to, listen in, though. I have nothing to say in this topic. I just called in to...
well, that's great.
Yeah. And I just wanted to give a shout to Nighthawk. Hello, Nighthawk. This is me. You happen to hear my voice. It's the B405.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of people, Nighthawk, are frustrated. They really are frustrated with, all these circumstances are popping up, and I'm going to talk about the United States in particular right now. So that's what you're talking about. And kind of like the feeling of like helplessness with it. What direction do we take it? What action do we take? Why is it men are not taking enough and all these things? And I think people are, those of us that are aware are observing this going, what can we do? Like you pointed out some pointers as to what people can do. And I think we can't, we need to remind ourselves because these things are happening right under our nose, and it's really frustrating.
Steal the machine. That's all I can say. That's what I've been doing for years, going on 14 years now. I'm stealing the machine. I'm not in debt. I own everything that I sit on. I make most of my own food. And, a lot of people go, I don't have extra money. Well, you can do it a little bit of a time at a time. And you'll find out after time when you do what I'm doing that you suddenly end up with the extra money to do all these things. When you're not paying interest, when you're not buying food at exorbitant rates from grocery stores because you're growing your own food, you're preserving your own food, you're canning your own food, all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, this extra money begins to appear in front of you, in which you can start even doing better things, even doing more things, because you're not throwing away, 60% of your income, into a trash can. That's all I can say. That's, I don't know. I've said it again and again and again. And it's really amazing how few people actually pay any attention.
Well, Well, no, I don't think that's the point. I think they do. I mean, not everybody, of course, but Wingman, were you going to make a comment earlier?
Well, I was just going to say, I get this admiralty law being imposed upon America and being difficult to navigate. Some can navigate and get away with it in court, but for the most part, those that do have done a lot of reading up, and it's taken them some time to get to that point. So not everyone's got that kind of astuteness to be able to do that. But the problem is that it seems in America that doing, well, and over here as well to some extent, that doing the right thing has become an illegal act, so to speak. So the main problem is not necessarily in people's intent, because a lot of people have the right intentions, but it's that if you want to action those intentions, that it becomes illegal. And so I see that the main problem being the fear of persecution. In other words, it's so easy to risk an altercation with the law for doing the right thing, just like the Hammonds, in essence, because what they were doing was moralistically, for the most part, right, but legally wrong. And that's the problem, is that we somehow need to protect ourselves from the threats of incarceration, which is basically what's going on. And that's why Admiralty law has been so successful for so long, because it in the balance hangs the threat of incarceration behind it. So that's why it works so well as it does, because people are scared of not towing the line and not complying. So if we can overcome somehow, maybe through community efforts, through joining together and uniting and protecting ourselves from, when we do the right thing, that we don't have a fear of persecution, because there's too many of us to be able to try that on with. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the legalities too, so to bog people down, right? I mean, they're trying to wade and swim through it and figure it out.
Right, but for the most part, it's nonsensical. It's designed a lot of the time just to tie you in, not only to paperwork, but legal fees, lawyers' fees, complications, time, effort. And a lot of people just don't have the time to be able to navigate the legal system. And so, the problem is being entangled with it in the first place. If there's a blatant refusal to say, well, you can say it's illegal all you like, but you're not going to arrest me because I've got, 10, 20, 100 other guys behind me that will say that, Mm-hmm. And that's the difference, is that it's just kind of like saying, no, I will not comply. No, what you're doing is illegal. And you can try all you like with regards to trying to arrest me, but it ain't going to happen because I've got my posse with me, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where I think we need to go, because that's the first brick in the wall. The police, albeit, yes, the small print, yes, there are some good ones out there, but the police are the first brick in the wall when it comes to us trying to change things, because change in the modern day society has become an illegal act. And you'll notice the use of the word domestic terrorist being thrown out more and more. You see, that's where they're going with it.
Yeah, they're using words to just to really, really confuse the public as to what direction to go.
Oh yeah, the entire thing in Oregon was always preceded by the media as heavily armed.
Even though it wasn't necessarily the case.
Now, I watched video after video, broadcasted video after video. Sherry was there, recording video after video. We saw almost no guns. I mean, there were a few guys that had guns, but, who cares? Why is everybody so scared of a gun?
I don't know.
Part of the game. It's part of the game. It's what they want. They have been carefully trying to persuade public opinion against it. They've been carefully trying to get people brainwashed and dumbed down enough that they don't understand what the concept is for defending yourself. They got everybody dialing this number, 911, which happens to be the numerological component of death. So they got everybody just brainwashed and just not paying attention. And when they do pay attention, they're scared to do anything because they're not familiar with the Admiralty law. They don't have any idea what it is half the time. And it's exactly as you guys are saying. Like, it's difficult to take any actions whatsoever because you don't know if you're ever going to get any backup whatsoever. We're all divided and leaderless.
Well, yeah, and now press is scared to death. Because if you're if you're, if you're vanilla press, you're okay. But I mean, if you're activist press at all, like I said, Peace and Tilly, good example. I have listened to people, and I was convinced too, telling me that Peace and Tilly was FBI and all that stuff. But Peace and Tilly, they've released a lot of people. Sean and all these people have been released, but yet Santilli's still sitting in solitary confinement. So, I think it's gone way beyond, we had a lot of people go, oh, well, he was just trying to get street cred. This is the FBI giving him street cred. Well, it's gone way beyond street cred now. This is yet another political prisoner being held in solitary confinement, and that dude was press, as far as I'm concerned, and it's scaring the crap out of people like me.
Well, sorry to interrupt. A few people are saying your mic's quite hot there, Hawk, just so you know.
We have a caller. I think it's the same one from before 503, is it?
It is.
Yeah, hi again.
Hi, it's Mike again.
Right.
Hey. The power of the affidavit and remaining private is an incredible tool for these people if you know how to write and research, Supreme Court verdicts and whatnot, and put that in your affidavit. This is the only way to keep the judges or administrators from keeping you from bringing this stuff into the court. Because when you write an affidavit, after 30 days, it turns into what's known as administrative rule. And these are administrators, and this is what allows them to do what they do, is administrative rule. So once you learn you can create administrative rule, and they will never keep you from asking the court to bring that in, it just comes down to being a great creative writer and understanding the laws that you're reading and understanding contract, which is a lot. It is a lot. It takes a lot of time. It's taken me the better part of 10 years to put this together. And I'm far from understanding the pitfalls and holes and traps that are created within the system that so many other people with their systems are losing in. And I don't want to mention names, but I'm sure you know who I'm speaking of.
So you sound, Mike, like you've had a lot of experience with this whole process.
I've got a little bit experience personally with, small municipal district court things. And I got laid off, and so I did a lot of reading. And, my other half asked me a question, and I started to read, and I was one of the first 80s children's speed readers, and I can read pretty fast. And so I put, better part of 10 years into reading law and medical stuff and listening to radio shows like your guys's and using clues and information to follow up on. And like I said, a better part of 10 years before it all started making sense.
We have another caller. You guys, we only have about 10 minutes. They're listening that. 214 area code. State your name and a comment.
Brent, and in reference to Nighthawk's comment about all the press are scared to death or something of that nature, let's go from Lavoy Finicum to Scalia, and you see that they should be scared to death. They should be scared to death that they can see that their system turns on itself and even will take out a Supreme Court justice. And that means that any of them are at risk any moment, from Supreme Courters, judges all the way down to your local cop. They'll take them out anytime they want, and they all live under fear. I just thought I'd put that in there to put a little fear in their hearts rather than in ours, And that's, I think that rather than point that out, for example, when this occurred, everybody just want to jump on the bandwagon and find out what exactly happened and who did this, and yeah, that's good. You know, we need to get as many facts as we can, as quickly as we can, but then we need to turn that against them. You see, taking out a Supreme Court justice, and it's easy for them to take out a cowboy, you know, made a stupid mistake or whatever. But there's even a question now if Lavoie's even dead. They're now starting to question this.
Now, come on, they took
the drone. You know,
they took out Kennedy in '63, though. And what's the difference? President, Chief Justice. You know, this has been shown to us many a times. You know, so yeah, a lot of people are kind of scared. I agree. But
yeah, they should be scared.
Depends on what type of
They eat their own. They eat babies and they eat their own. That's all I had to say. You guys wrap it up. Thanks.
Well, thank you for that very powerful comment. Tim, you were going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, for them, it depends on who's pulling the trigger, who's putting the fear into whom. I think that they are very scared of the masses. I think that the people are waking up and starting to realize that the political system is a joke, that it's not at all what it seems. I mean, it's obvious now that all the cards are being pulled whenever they want to. If Hillary Clinton can just take that election on the other side as opposed to being popular, then it's in everybody's face now just how much of a sham this system is. I think that if human beings waking up is what they're really, truly scared of, because truth be told, if they wanted to put their master plans into action, like they already would have. They are stalling for time right now, because I think that the system itself is eating itself apart. As there are the different secret societies are now starting to go into divided warfare with each other. So therefore, you've got like the black hats versus the white hats versus the gray hats, and they're all trying to each get their own outcome into this. I think the really nasty part of the cabal is losing. I think that we as a human species have to make a choice coming up here in the future, and very soon, whether or not we are going to allow for a debt jubilee and a new system to come in, or if we choose something absolutely brand new and go far away from that and say that we do not want any system whatsoever. No matter what happens, what we have now today as in the system and as in the people, you know, who are in charge, they ain't going to last much longer. It's almost done for them. We got like maybe 2 or 3 more years. Nothing's going to look like it does now. The question is whether or not we move into a full disclosure while everybody knows, where everybody has to be told what the cabal has been up to for the past couple centuries and how horrible they have been, and how much of our history have they erased and occulted and hidden and then used against us.
Comment to your statement.
All of that stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
The economy part, what you were saying, you know, replacing, you know, our way of whatnot. Well, the people are already stupid. Come on. The system that's being used here in America was supposed to end in 2012. That's by contract. Has that been dealt with? No. So, yeah, the people are incredibly stupid here. We're not even supposed to be using the Fed by contract. You know, it was installed in, 2013, December 23rd, illegally. I mean, not 2013, but 1913, December 23rd. And so, yeah, that means it should have ended 99 years in accordance to all contracts. And our Senate, you know, or Congress hasn't stood up and tended to this issue.
Absolutely. I think that the powers that be are trying to take whatever time left they possibly can to try to stave off till the very end. Whatever tricks they can pull out. I've heard tell that the IMF has already taken over our central bank. And even Benjamin Fulford has been saying that the military took over the federal the Fed, but I don't know how true that is. I'm not sure that I trust it. It's just information. Could be true, could be not. There's no, confirmation.
And the SDRs are already pre-printed and everything.
Yeah, you guys.
You know, and I kind of believe that, because you look at our $100 bills, they were pre-printed before they were finally released, the new hundreds.
Right.
They were printed 2 years before.
It's the end of the show. Sorry, you guys have great comments. I want to thank Bruce McDonald, Heather. Yeah, you're welcome. Bruce McDonald, Heather, Tim Wingman, Mike, and Brent, and Zippy, and Nitehawk. And yeah, this has been Wild at Heart with Noreen Halpand, and we have coming up another roundtable Studio 8 here with Monty.
Alright, so there's a sample of our roundtables over there, and they run from midnight till 4 a.m. every night. If you want to call in and discuss whatever subject you want to discuss, feel free to call in. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and I'm going to get out of here, man. My brain is starting to shut down. The last 4 minutes just seemed like the longest 4 minutes of my life while I was waiting for it to shut down. Not that the topic wasn't interesting, it was just like, oh my god, I just want to go to bed. I just want to go to bed. Go bed. Even my cats are in here looking at me weird, like going, shouldn't you be in bed, dude, so I can go sleep in your chair? Anyway, talk to you later, folks. Bye-bye.